But before we start, over to the committee clerk for some housekeeping notices.
Thank you, Chair. Here's the housekeeping for the formal part of the meeting tonight. The meeting today is open to the public and the formal section will be recorded for subsequent broadcast via the Council's website. You should be aware that the Council is a data controller under the Data Protection Act. Data collected during this webcast will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policy. By entering the meeting room, you are consenting to be filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting. Any member of the public due to speak at the meeting who does not wish to be filmed should say so at the start of their speech. The Chair will suspend the permission to film their contribution. The webcast will only record their audio contribution. Members of the public are permitted to take photographs and film or audio record the business of the meeting in accordance with the protocol for webcasting, filming and recording of Sheffield City Council meetings. If anyone wishes to film or record this meeting, the Chair of the meeting does have discretion to withdraw or suspend this permission if the recording is disrupting the conduct of the meeting, or is being undertaken in a manner which is intimidating or could capture personal information, or if a member of the public participating objects to being filmed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We haven't got a huge amount of formal business. I'm going to try and speed things up a bit as we're running rather late, and I do want to give plenty of time for questions. We basically have formal business, apologies, declarations, and the minutes of the last meeting. We don't have any reports to approve, so I'm going to try and whip through this formal part as quickly as possible so we can get to the public questions. So if I can start by asking the clerk if we've apologies for absence.
I received apologies from Councillor Denise Fox, Councillor Karen McGowan, Councillor Tony Downing and Councillor Anne Wolfhouse.
Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Marshall.
Councillor Willis Marshall as well.
Okay. There are no items that require the exclusion of press and public. And can I ask, do any members wish to declare an interest in items of business on the agenda? Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. Has every councillor got a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting? Have you all read them? Yes. Good. All nodding heads. Are you all happy with the minutes?
Yes, Chair.
I can sign them as a true and correct record?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can you speak up?
Yeah, so in 17.3,
1 second, we'll get you the mic.
Thank you. So in section 17.3, which is what do you think is missing for young people in your area, we did actually list greenbelt space in S13 for that, and it isn't recorded on there.
Okay, yep. Happy to take that.
Yep.
Yep. We'll add that to the minute.
Thank you.
Just want to check with him at the end. Yeah. Okay. That proves a true and correct record. Thank you. So we'll now move on to public questions and petitions. Just wait while my colleague writes down the bit for the minute.
That's the questions that we've received, Chair.
Yeah. We've received some questions in advance and we've also had some questions tonight. What I propose to do is when I read the name of the questioner out, I will ask that person if they're here, if they wish to repeat their question or if they wish me to read it out for them. The first question was from David Flanagan. I know you're here. Do you want to? We'll get you the mic. You're happy for me to read it? Yeah. Has a traffic survey been conducted taking into account HGV access to the proposed site? This is in relation to Eckington Way, I believe, yes? And these vehicles negotiate in relatively small roundabouts in the area. Please consider fairground HGVs can be larger than a standard 40-foot HGV. The recent LAC meeting at the Lifestyle Centre at Bayton, we were led to believe by the chairperson that this development will probably not go ahead, and approximately 2 weeks later we hear on social media that it's going ahead. Who are we to believe? directly answer the question. There was a story in the press that Eckington Way was going ahead. That story was not true, and was pulled fairly quickly afterwards. It's also true to say, by the way, that every councillor on this LAC at that time voted against the development, irrespective of it. Well, they didn't vote for the development, irrespective of their party. The information I gave you at the time was because the inspectors had asked the council to look at other sites, and I think that's what provoked the story. So what I said at the time was I was optimistic that it wouldn't happen, and that was based on that time. So I hope that answers your question. As far as I'm aware, no. In terms of HGVs, that did come up in the actual inquiry. The council had done a traffic survey. The inspectors were surprised that the council had not done a traffic survey on a Saturday because of, Crystal Peaks. The inspector actually said, "You mean to tell me you haven't done a traffic survey on a Saturday?" So no, as far as I'm aware, and that indeed is one of the objections which local residents, local councillors, and indeed the MP have raised and did raise in the inquiry.
What's the next stage? Where do we stand now and what's the next stage?
As you may be aware, the process was paused because the inspectors asked for additional sites. That's now going on. The council today has published to people who responded a new set of sites that officers looked at and rejected, which the inspectors said had to be in the public domain, and that's where it's at the moment. It's with the inspectors, so it's not within the power of councillors at the moment. It depends what happens when the public inquiry is finished. The inspectors will then go away and write their report, and that will come back to the council.
If we go online, can we find out these other proposed sites?
Yes.
We can. All right. Thank you.
That is available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, and then we have a similar question, which was the petition of 4,000 signatures, together with objections from Clyde Betts MP and all three Bayton councillors, has been submitted. So this is for me and Wallace. Are you in the room? Sorry, actually. Yeah. Would you like to ask that question? Or? Yeah, well, some of it we covered already. Okay. Just a second while we get you the mic.
In relation to the traffic survey, which I understand was done within a week, even that survey showed it was 110% overused, whereas obviously, as you've already indicated, if it was done at the weekend, it would probably be closer to 200%. There appears to be some confusion as to what the site is aimed at, whether it's aimed at the show people and the travelling show people, or whether it's aimed at gypsies and travellers. Could you answer that question, please?
You're right to say there's confusion, because originally it said travellers, travelling show people. At the inquiry itself, the council said the site is for travelling show people. So that is where it's at. Now, our information is travelling show people don't want this site. And again, I'm not revealing anything that wasn't said in the inquiry at that meeting. And those points were put forward by members of the public, by Clive Betts, by the local councillors, by QC, as it was then, I think it's still QC Rodner KC, on behalf of the objections. So that's all with the inspectors now.
Mr. William Percival, who was the joint chair of the Shows Guild, dismissed the idea out of hand and is quoted as saying the site is nothing to do with showground or fairground people. So now I've received a reply to my question from Simon Vincent, who is the Service Manager of Strategic Planning at Sheffield Council. And he's at odds with what I've said about Mr. Percival objecting to the site and saying it's no good for them, because he said in this reply to me, the relevant Showman's Guild representatives have been consulted and they are supportive of the proposal in principle. Now, he hasn't mentioned who these representatives were, but within the Showman's Guild itself, there appears to be some confusion. Now, since I got that reply, I've been in touch with the Showman's Guild for clarification on this matter, but unfortunately, I haven't had a reply. I was hoping for one before tonight's meeting, and I did tell them I was attending the meeting tonight, but unfortunately, they haven't replied. So I can't give you an update on that. But yeah, I accept what you're saying, that alternative sites have been identified, but obviously there's been no progress on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, as far as we know, the council consulted with the National Showman's Guild and not locally. That is my understanding, as I think you've just said. And yeah, again, council who was there did make the point that the proposed site now for the Showman's area is on a slope, and those vehicles, as others have indicated, are very large vehicles. They'll not be able to service those vehicles on a sloping site. So there we are. But thank you for your question. Moving on, we did have a question from Joel Green, who's not here, which I think was alluded to earlier in the police presentation, which was about the incident in Althorpe. So she will be getting a response to that question, and I think that was covered in your presentation earlier, so I don't think we need to repeat that, as it were. Thank you. I'll go on to the ones that have been submitted this evening. Martin Hall. Sorry, yeah, I know yours is a complex question, so I want to read it out. Battery's gone. We're having fun with technology tonight.
Before I can ask my question, I need to present a bit of background and some facts. Throughout October, the National Crime Agency coordinated the nationwide Operation Machine Eyes 2. This targeted high street premises such as mini-marts, vape shops, barbers and takeaways. The NCA, police forces, trading standards and immigration enforcement took part in the largest operation of its kind ever staged. 2,734 premises were visited or raided, 924 people arrested, 10.7 million pounds of suspected criminal proceeds were seized, and over 2.7 million pounds worth of illicit commodities destroyed. There are 45 regional police forces in the UK. 2,374 premises raided or visited amounts to an average of 2 per police force per day, which hardly seems a stupendous effort given the scale of the problem. This is further apparent looking closely at the results, which the national media didn't do. A total of 4.5 million cigarettes sounds a lot, except that HMRC records that 2.5 billion illegal cigarettes are smoked annually, about 12% of the total market. A full month's activity therefore removed less than 0.2% of the goods from that segment of the illegal market. For rolling tobacco, it's 662 kilograms, 0.1% of the 500-ton illegal market. Total tobacco seizures equaled 3.4 million of duty taxes evaded from the overall 2.3 billion lost revenue annually. The 10.7 million suspected criminal proceeds seized is only 0.1% of at least 12 billion estimate by the NCA of criminal cash generated in the UK through the activities targeted in this investigation. The NCA's 12 billion is a fraction of the 47 billion annually attributed to the full range of serious and organised crime. The overall impact of this operation on criminal finances was minuscule. The Security Minister, Dan Jarvis, used the NCA numbers from Machine Eyes 2 to gradually declare, "We have intensified our joint efforts to dismantle criminal networks and relentlessly pursue those who use dirty money for personal gain." Dan Jarvis is the MP for Barnsley North, also regional mayor from 2018 to 2022. I wonder what action he took then against these activities, which have proliferated in plain sight. 924 people arrested were small fry. The criminal bosses operate at arm's length reported in an investigation by the BBC a while ago. Far safer profits are made by them leasing the premises to middlemen via false companies with figurehead directors. The two identified by the BBC were Pakistani of Kashmiri origin, with links to the Baradari kinship culture, and that part of some of them played in wider criminality, including drugs and the notorious grooming class. The money was probably transferred by the Muslim Hawala system outside of normal banking channels, as well as cryptocurrency. My actual question is, do the police and trading standards have plans to continue a more realistic level of these raids and visits on their illegal activities, which are a major part of the business model for gangs transporting illegal migrants across the channel? Thank you.
I'm not sure that's a question we can answer here this evening. We will see what we can do. Pass that question on to.
In regards to the illegal vapes and vape shops and stuff, we do as a team, if we get intelligence into us to say something's happening at that, we will envisage to get a warrant there and go out. I know we have had some really successful things in the South East area, not just on Woodhouse, but at the Manor. We had one recently where we ended up going and getting a closure order on a vape shop on Prince Wales Road, where we seized lots of vapes from there. What makes us really want to get into these is a lot of the vape stuff in there. Because not only is it vapes, it's THC, and in the THC they'll make THC gummies. And if you look at the THC gummies, it's generally like it looks like a packet of sweets. So for us, it's aimed at children. So obviously, it's really something that we want to stop. So if we see that and we know that children are going, so we do sometimes get intelligence in from housing or from schools that'll say to us, or just to let you know, one of our children has said that they've got these THC gummies from that shop, and then we'll put intelligence in. Generally it's done by PTSOs. They'll put intelligence in, one of our intel departments will review it and then go, actually we've got enough to be able to get a warrant for that shop. And we did get one recently where we got a lot. I can't remember off my head how many vapes, but it was huge amounts of vapes that we'd ended up seizing, and packets of gummies and chocolate. So we've had a really good impact on that. Not only did we just take that away from them, we also shut shop down, so it got a 3-month closure order on it, and we're doing lots of other work in relation to it. So we do it, we do get things through. Do I think we know everything? Probably not, but we can obviously only work on what we're told. So if any of you do know a vape shop or something where you think, well, actually, that'd be good for police to know about, submit intelligence through to us, would be really good, and we're happy to do it. Yeah. I can't tell you what we're doing in relation to that, but I'm aware of it, yeah. If that's all right. I obviously don't want to go into it further, but yeah. We don't, once we shut that, ignore it, we'll continue to do an investigation. That investigation is ongoing, so we're doing what we can.
Thank you for that. We have some questions from David Cronshaw. Do you want the microphone? Yep.
In the South East, we have at least 2 empty buildings. Toilet block that is opposite the Red Lion on White Lane, and an empty building that used to be the Remember When opposite the Sportsman on Main Street, Akenthorpe. This building would be a great base for the proposed Akenthorpe Tara, which would be self-sufficient by using it for a variety of purposes for the local community. Akenthorpe Tara is currently being looked into, so if you're interested in joining that, come and have a chat. So can you confirm what's happening to these buildings as they've been empty for over a year, and either they need selling, renting or knocking down? Council's missing on vital income when the council's got a minimum £24 million deficit for 25-26.
I think we've somebody from housing here who can answer on at least one of those.
Thanks. Tracy Noble, Neighbourhood Manager for Housing at South East. We're not currently, if you're referring to the building at Hutton Croft. No? Yes, Hutton Croft, yeah. Yeah. We're not currently leasing or licensing that building out at the minute while we discuss the options with property services. However, housing won't offer concessionary lets now for Taras. In terms of the previous concessionary let with the Tara that folded, after 18 months, the concessionary let folds with that Tara. So housing couldn't offer a concessionary let on that building. I believe I have fed back to Jackie Pidduck, the engagement officer, who should have provided that information for you. However, if we do receive any interest on that building, it is logged in date order that we've received it. So I have a record of that, and then I would feed back when I'm in a position to do so on the Hutton Croft building. Block that is not known to housing. However, I can speak to property services and see if it's a building that they are aware of and feedback, and I'll provide the feedback to the chair.
So is the building opposite Main Street, is that being remarketed?
We're not in a position at the minute to decide the future on that. We're discussing with property services the use of that building, and once those discussions are finalised, then we'll be able to come back to anyone who's registered an interest in that, when the decision's made. But discussions are ongoing around that building, and the current state of that building from previous cafe that was in there, obviously there are some works to be done in that building. So it's not in a current state at the minute to license it or lease it out. And we couldn't, I haven't at the minute. I'm discussing it with property services. I am aware people have inquired about that, but we couldn't offer a concessionary let to a Tara. Housing don't do that now. Yeah.
My next one is, can we have an update on the crime figures for the past 3 months for the South East area relating to burglaries, car theft and other categories? And how does this compare to other areas in Sheffield? And how does this compare to this time last year?
The police force at guide to direct you to police.com. We've already discussed this. So there's a website called police.co.uk. There is some stats on there. I'm not allowed to go onto my computer and say to you, we've had this amount and that amount, because I'm not an analyst. I'm not allowed to put out the official. It's got to be the official data once it's gone through all the analytical support through. So unfortunately, I can't say to you, it's definitely gone down or it's gone up. But we do, what I will say is we do everything we can to try and reduce it. If we see a spike in burglary go up in a specific area, these are nodded, because it's generally them that I've got out on the street saying to them, right, you're going to have to go and do a hot plan in relation to this. And we will have them out on the streets looking as much as we can. The stuff that we were talking about earlier about proactive policing. So generally, I'd have officers I've given sometimes say, can you deviate your shift and come on later, because obviously stuff's doing it. It isn't just our team that does it, but we put it out to response teams as well. Kate does. Every single morning we have an intel meeting where we sit in a meeting, me, Kate, and a number of other people from across Sheffield, and we'll look up crime patterns, not just for burglary, but for all different neighbourhood crime, and we'll say, look, we've had this amount of vehicle crimes overnight, or we've had specific this amount of robberies, and this is a different MO, or this is the same as them that we had yesterday, and we'll look at the patterns. So we do everything we can to try and reduce it. If we think there's a specific problem in an area, we'll try and put it out on social media if we can. So we might say, oh, actually, we've had quite a lot of burglaries in S, whatever. I'm not going to pick a number because I don't want you to say that. I think it's that area, but it's not a minute. So we'd say, we've had a particular problem in this area, and we'd try and put it out, and we'd come out, and our PCSOs would go out as well and try and do more cocooning and pay particular. Sometimes they'll do a cocooning, and then I'll say to her, but can you just go a bit wider, or can you go and do CCTV around them shops? So we do try and do some specific stuff as well. Hopefully that helps, but I'm sorry I can't do it. I'd love to say to you, we've only had X amount, but I'm not allowed. I get in trouble.
Make use of.
Sorry to prolong this, but
I couldn't quite make out what you were saying. All those figures that you were talking about, the statistics, are they able to be viewed by the public and interrogated? Yeah. So I think that might help.
Yeah. Yeah, I did already. There's a website. He's aware because I've already spoken to him. He knows where it is. But there's a website called police.co.uk, and you can get it off that. But if you just put into Google police statistics, it generally comes up. It's quite easy to find. So.
Okay, regards to the environmental stewardship scheme, can you confirm how many adults have been involved with it from the Burley ward since it's been going on?
I can. Currently, there haven't been any adults. So the programme was set up for NEET, not in employment, education and training, and that's up to 18-year-olds. We are really keen to look at getting it developed for adults. The issue that we've had is getting an educational provider, for obviously for the older age group, and also then we just need to look at how we would deliver it, because what we couldn't do because of the age of the youngsters is have the adults and the youngsters working at the same time. But we are still really keen to sort of explore that and get some training elements set up for that. So it's not that we're not going to do it, it's just it hasn't happened yet.
Can you confirm how many youngsters then have come from the Burley ward that's been part of that stewardship scheme?
I can get you that information. I don't know off the top of my head, but yes, I can.
Okay. Now, we did have a question from Mr. Craig Myers, who's not here, but somebody else, gentleman at the back, was going to ask the question on his behalf.
Yeah, thank you. This was a question from Mr. Craig Myers, who unfortunately can't be here, but I do share a common interest in the question, and it's in relation to the abysmal state of the carriageway on both White Lane and Sheffield Road, where it has Supertram tracks running on it. Now, I went up to White Lane last week and I counted 200 repairs, not very good repairs, I hasten to add, between what is the Indian restaurants at the traffic lights and the disused public toilets at the other end of White Lane before you get to Ridgeway Road. The problem is that what were previously craters and potholes have been filled with tarmac, and now instead of a hole, you're a bump. So they're nowhere level at all. In addition to that, I counted another 30 holes that are in immediate danger. The holes are up to 100 millimetres, or in old money, 4 inches deep. Now, I've had a chat with the lady from Amy tonight, who's confirmed that when the defects are on the concrete structure, in other words, the area immediately alongside the tracks, that's still the responsibility of Supertram to effect the repairs. However, when it's on the tarmac area, that is Amy. I have to say in Amy's defence that the majority of the repairs carried out and the existing dangerous holes, most of them are on the concrete. What I would like to do is, as a regular motorcyclist myself, I would like to invite this person responsible from Supertram for these repairs to come as a pillion passenger on the back of my bike so I can show him how dangerous this road surface is.
Thank you for that question. We will pass it on. I'll bring in a second. To say Supertram has employed Volker Rail to upgrade the tram system. So it is Volker that will be responsible, I would think, for those repairs. And I know that, as people will know, the service has been stopped quite often because they've been replacing sections of track and area. So clearly they haven't done that bit yet. So whether they intend to do it, I don't know, but we will ask. And we'll take that on. So was that a question on that?
Recently, when the rails was replaced, was it this year? Yeah, at the start of this summer. 3 or 4 guys came round, maybe from Volker, Supertram and various people, and he assured us the whole road, the concrete section, was going to get done ASAP. No action has been done. And as far as patching the holes up, I've been walking up Sheffield Road and there's been a van pull up. 2 guys have got out with a bucket of tarmac. They put it in, they stamp on it and walk off. That's their repairs. Pathetic.
Okay, well, we will pursue that. As I say, it is a matter for the mayoral authority, who are now responsible for Supertram. But as I said, they have employed Volker, who are the people who do that work. So, as you rightly said, it's not Amy as such. Julian.
It's not the tarmac, it is the concrete. Right. Oh, I see. Right, fine. Right, that's fine then, fair enough. I know we went out, like you said, in the summer. We did a portion of Sheffield Road. We did it in conjunction with Volker Rail on behalf of Sheffield Supertram. Yeah. Right. Right, fair enough then. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, well, thank you all for your questions. That's, I hope we managed to answer most of them. And thank you once again for turning out on this not very pleasant evening. That concludes the meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.